And also tonight, on behalf of Treadwell's, on the Treadwell's team is my very dear friend Paul Wood and Esther and Johnny, who's had to leave, and Rambo, who is of course on the greeting team, and Jill, who's upstairs. So we're here to help you have a lovely evening. The person without whom this event would not exist is our author, Jimahl. Thank you so much for the book, and thank you for the journey, and thank you for bringing people of so many diverse backgrounds and strands of life and ways of bringing the world together in a single place. Would you say a little bit about the book?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Christine.
Can we welcome him?
Well, I just want to start by saying I'm not nervous. I'm saying that all day long. A friend of mine wrote to me early this morning and said, "You try to sparkle, don't sweat." So I think it's impossible. So you'll get a little bit of both, hopefully. But the spirit of Alex Sanders has been haunting me personally for about 27 years, which coincidentally is about the amount of time that he's been dead. But as our presence here tonight can attest to, truly remarkable people never really die. They may pass from this plane, but they live on in our imaginations and our memories if we were fortunate enough to have known them. And a really wonderful thing sometimes happens. The person becomes more alive after they've left this physical plane than they were when they were in it. Or at least they have a whole other go-around, and that's what's happening with Alex Sanders. That's what I truly felt. So the book that we're celebrating tonight is a new biography of the man. I wrote 2 books about the Alexandrian tradition prior to this one. I know at least one person here has read them, Clive. A Voice in the Forest and All the King's Children, The Human Legacy of Alex Sanders. And I thought that that might be enough to give Alex a little bit of rest on the other plane, because I felt personally that he was been speaking to me for a while, to my inner spirit, and that there was a task that I needed to accomplish that maybe he couldn't fulfill in his own life. You know, if you believe Hollywood movies, sometimes when spirits pass, they can't really rest until everything that they needed to accomplish was done. And for many years, I thought, well, what could this possibly be? Because if I can help him, I certainly want to help him along. And eventually, I started thinking about a 3rd book, but this one was different because this would be a biography of the man. Now, I know everybody here probably is familiar with 1970 June Johns, King of the Witches, a pretty interesting book, a classic, really. But if you think about that as a biography of the human being, that was written when Alex was just 40 years old, or in that range. He lived 20 years beyond that, just about, and did really, really noteworthy things. Where's the last 20 years of his life? That, if you think about it in the context of a publicity piece, was really what I interpret King of the Witches to be. It was written when Alex was at the peak of his popularity. You know, a reporter wrote the book, the reporter's husband took the photographs, and it was sent out and became enormously controversial because there are a lot of outrageous things in the book. But I don't think that really paints a picture of a human being. I think at the end of one's life, you have to look back and see everything that's been accomplished. So I started thinking about that. The title of the book is interesting because if you think about the metaphor of crossing over when we die, and the possibility that a soul may be restless and needs some appeasement before they can cross over, I started thinking about the ferryman who takes the souls across the river. And I started seeing this 3rd book as payment to the ferryman, hence the title, A Coin for the Ferryman. And I thought that if I could write the book in a way that would make Alex happy, it would be something special that he would have. Of course, an American author who never knew Alex Sanders, who didn't have the means to travel to England and sort of go around in a car and spend 6 months doing research, there were challenges involved. I also wanted to get the blessing of somebody who knew Alex very well. About this time, I met Maxine Sanders for the first time. She and I were booked to speak at the same event. We became friends right off, and Kerrigan and I had invited her to stay with us 3 days in our home near Salem. She agreed. And so I remember, Maxine, you were in the kitchen one evening before bed making a cup of tea. And she had her back to me, and she was making her tea, and I thought, it's now or never, Jimahl. You want to write this book, you know, you want to make sure that this remarkable lady would be happy with the idea of you writing about somebody so close to her. And so I said to her, Maxine, I really think I want to write a new biography of Alex Sanders. And without turning around, she said, what do you hope to accomplish? And I said, to show the true man, the human being, somebody who is not a demon, not a saint, but a man of flesh and blood. And she said, if you could do that, you'll do the man an enormous favor. And she took her tea and went to bed. So that was the beginning of it. Of course, that was only the beginning. There was a lot of work to be done. So I started thinking about how I could accomplish this, and I decided rather than to do research, and honestly, if you search Alex Sanders on the internet, we're all going to get the same information, most of it misinformation or outright slander or lies, half of it. I didn't want to repeat what everybody else had already put out. So I said, to tell the story of the true man, I need to talk to people who knew him, worked with him, loved him, his friends, his family, people from his coven, his students. And I reached out to people, and the response that the universe gave me was overwhelming. People were ringing my phone and sending me letters. I had over 20 hours of taped interviews with people who knew Alex, and they would just open up and tell me the most amazing stories. And I thought, okay, how do I put this all together? And then the Museum of Witchcraft in Boscastle, who I had a relationship with because I donated some books for flood relief way back when, opened up their archives to me, and I did a lot of research online, and I was getting photocopies or faxes, or not faxes, but scans of documents from the museum. And people started sending me personal information, things that Alex had given them, letters, pieces of journals, and all of it came together, and I knew that the universe wanted this book written, and I believed that Alex wanted it written too. So over a period of 10 months, very intensive writing. I have a day job. Authors don't make a lot of money, as you might imagine. So I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would work until 7 every day on the book, and then I would go to my day job. So I lived in this pattern for probably about close to a year before the book came to completion. I remember, well, first of all, before I go any further, I want to thank some of the people who actually contributed to the book. Maxine included are here tonight. So Maxine Sanders, right here. Mary Rand in the back. Mary Rand is very generous in her stories and anecdotes of Alex. And Galatea, who I couldn't have done. Galatea Pendragon, where's Galatea? Oh, you're right there. Okay. Galatea was like my partner. I feel that I should have a co-author's name on the front of the book, but I've dedicated the book to Galatea because her memories of Alex begin and end the book. So the book starts with Alex's death and works backward through his life. We do write about the grandmother's story, which everybody still asks me about. We write about his initiation. I never come to any concrete facts about what happened because I simply wasn't there. I just say this is the information that I found. You can draw your own conclusions, but it's all pretty interesting reading. But more importantly, what you get in the book is a series of anecdotes and stories about the man from first-hand witnesses that evolve into a tapestry of a man's life. So he emerges from the pages very vividly, almost like he steps from the pages, and you feel, by the end of the book, I hope, that you really know him, that you can identify with him for being a human being, a person that had faults like all of us, and a person that did some really, really remarkable, wonderful things in his life. Plus you get a lot of like backstory stuff, really some of my favorite stories about how Janet sold, or Alex sold Janet Farrer's virginity to a truck driver for £5. as told by Janet Farrer. And the story of the bush baby monkey, which is kind of like a little creature with very sharp claws running amok among sky-clad witches. Little stories like that that bring the man to life, and hopefully it'll be a book that will make you laugh, and it'll make you happy, and it'll make you very sad. But that's really what all of our lives are about, right? So I finished the first draft and I sent it to Maxine Sanders and I said, Maxine, have a read and tell me what you think. Well, she sent me an email and I've kept it all these years.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to share it. Sorry. Okay, it starts out, Dearest Jimahl. Now, I thought that was really a good beginning. But then Maxine writes, emotionally exhausting. I could rant and scream. I'm thinking, okay, hyperventilating now. But she says, at some of the comments that people made about Alex, although ranting and screaming are not in my nature. Then I remembered how Alex touched people in a magical way, and that is inexplicable. Their memories are personal to them, loving, bitter, true, or otherwise. It is those memories Alex would revel in. Thank you, Jimahl. You have achieved a point in a great work, which will always be a never-ending adventure. So it seemed to me, at this point in this marvelous adventure, that I have accomplished what I set out to do. And that Alex and the ferryman are both happy. I hope you will be too if you buy the book and read it. I think it's horribly pretentious for an author to read from his or her own book, but I'm going to break that rule because there's a very small section of the book that's very important to me that I think speaks a lot about how I feel right now at this point in my life and about Alex and about this book. Okay, take off the glasses to read. Just as there were two Alexes, the public and the private, there were two circles of witchcraft. There is an outer circle, which is very public. This is the theater in which Alex worked for many years, a place filled with fancy props and feathered masks. It is a temple of illusion, the spell only broken with the flash of a camera. The outer circle serves its purpose well. It is the gateway for the serious student to come through, the trail of breadcrumbs that leads one inward. The inner circle is by its very nature hidden. Its mysteries are guarded by the priesthood. Yet this circle too is ever-changing. It shifts in and out, appears and disappears like some sort of enchanted brigadoon which comes to life only when the moment is right and the student is ready. It projects itself onto a screen of sorts, and on that screen plays out in the heart like a film that flickers in a darkened theater, and then is gone. It is a fleeting thing and can never be held still in a single moment. Much like the moments that make up our lives, we can appreciate each one for what it is, or we can sit and wait for just the right moment, letting all the others pass by. Our lives are like the witch's dance, a spiral that twists and turns in and on itself and back again across the barren landscape, but for a brief moment is filled with a burst of joy, and then is silent again, a place where finally only the memory of the dance remains. So, to the memory of dances done, and to dances yet to come, and to Alex Sanders, without whom there'd be no point in being here tonight. Thank you. Yeah.